Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with another episode of the Golden Age. This is our series of Warhammer Fantasy Battle Reports, and this is Battle Report number 124. It is a 3,000 point battle that is fought between Ogre Kingdoms as well as Stormcast Eternals. My kryptonite of an opponent, Mama Khan, is bringing the Legion of the Hellmouth, her 3,000 point Ogre Kingdoms army, and I'm playing the Lords of Azure Skies, my Stormcast Eternals army. So in case you guys are tuning in for the very first time, what ended up happening is that I managed to find Warhammer Fantasy 8.5 edition rules for Stormcast Eternals. And the reason why I did that is because I did have a Stormcast Eternals army in my studio's collection, and the problem that I ran into is that I don't play Warhammer Age of Sigmar anymore. So because I had this fully painted 2,000 point Stormcast Eternals army that was just sitting around collecting dust, and I didn't know what to do with it. So when I found the Bells of Lost Souls website, they actually had the 8.5 edition rules for Stormcast Eternals, and I decided to actually start filling them in our battle reports. Pretty much we're taking this army through its paces by making it fight every single army in our collection and see exactly how it stacks up. Now, like I said before, I am going against Mama Khan. Mama Khan is my kryptonite. She has been playing Ogre Kingdoms since I think when they came out in 6th edition, I believe. Ever since then, so she is really good with these guys. And so I'm really looking forward to this battle because I want to see exactly how well my Stormcast Eternals will do against them. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play some background music real quick. As the music is playing, we will show you photos of both armies as well as their rosters. If you want to see exactly what we're bringing for this battle report, go ahead and pause and take a look at your own leisure, or check down the description box below for more information. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Crom, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Balor pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then the hell with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
So the scenario rules for this one is Battle Line. It is the most typical game of Warhammer Fantasy that we play on this channel with standard deployment as well as standard victory conditions. So with the scenario rules over, let's go and talk about deployment as well as battle plans. Alright, so here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield. As you can see, Mama Khan and I are playing on a 4x6 foot table. I am deployed on the near side of the table while Mama Khan is deployed on the far side of the table. Now for my battle plan on this one, pretty much what my plan is to kind of delay Mama Khan's forces from actually crossing across the battlefield and engaging my forces. She is playing Ogre Kingdoms, so the tactics of an Ogre Kingdom army are actually pretty simple. They pretty much charge as quick as they can across the battlefield and engage in close combat. So what I plan on doing, because since I have such high strength weapons, I plan on whittling down the Ogre Kingdoms as much as I possibly can, and then therefore just kind of stay in my position so that when they charge forward, I can fight them and destroy them that way. However, though, I do have my work cut out for me. As you can see, Mama Khan has some pretty devastating flankers on either side of her army. She's got 2 Iron Blasters as well as a unit of 8 Lead Belchers on her left-hand flank. At the same time, she also has a Stonehorn, which is, ironically enough, hiding behind that set of Standing Stones over the right-hand side, and same thing with her Mournfang. So this one is going to be pretty much kind of like a battle for the flanks, because whoever ends up controlling the flanks will end up controlling this battle. Because for the rest of our infantry forces, which are those 3 units of ogres, they're just going to charge forward as quick as they can and try to get stuck in as quickly as possible. So I'm going to try to whittle down the central forces. Hopefully I can do some damage from the flanks by using my my Paladin, Vanguard Paladors to wound up those Iron Blasters left-hand flank with their Star Strike Javelins, and hopefully I can cause some harm with my Prosecutors as well as my 2 flying characters in the right-hand flank. So with the battle plan over with, let's go ahead and talk about deployment real fast. Alright, so starting off the deployment for the Lords of Azure Skies. On my far left-hand flank, I have a unit called the Heralds of Heaven, which is a unit of 3 Vanguard Paladors. They're mounted on Griff Chargers. They also have Sigmar armor as well as Star Strike Javelins. And then right next to them, of course, I got 2 other units. Up in the front, we have the Zindathal Titans, a unit of 5 Paladin Retributors. They have reinforced Sigmar armor as well as Lightning Hammers. And then right behind them, those are the Scions of Mercy, which is a unit of 10 Judicators. They have Sigmar armor, Skybolt Bowls, and hand weapons, and I have 2 Shockbolt Bows within that unit as well. So making up my center line, on the right and the left hand side, that unit is called the Solemn Martyrs, a unit of 10 Liberators. They have great weapons as well as Sigmar armor and shields. Leading that unit is most of my characters. On the far right hand side in the upper in the front rank, that is Lord Ios of Azure Earth and the Thundercaller. He is my Lord Celestin on Dracoth. He's got Sigmar armor, a Sigmarite Runeblade, as well as riding a Dracoth. He's also got the Staunch Defender commander's trait. Right next on the left hand side, that is Horus the Stormbringer. He is a Knight Vexillor. He's also my army's battle standard bearer. He has Sigmar armor as well as a great weapon, as well as the Meteoric Standard and the Icon of War. Meanwhile, on the left hand side next to him is Jericho the Doomcaller. He's a Knight Heralder. He's got Sigmar armor as well as a Sigmar broadsword. He's also got his Thunder Blast from his trumpet. And then lastly on the left hand side, that is Jathun the Sullen. He is my Lord Relictor. He's got Sigmar armor as well as a Relic Hammer. He's also got Lightning Storm's bound spell for one of his prayers, as well as Healing Storm, and he's also got the Lightning Chart ability as well. And he's also packing a Dispel Scroll. Now right next to him on the right hand side, those are the Skyforge Snipers. It is a unit of 3 Vanguard Raptors with long strike crossbows and targeting scopes, and right behind them are the Venerable Falcons, a unit of 3 Aether Wings. And on the far right hand side, I have the Seraphs of Aether, which is a unit of 5 Prosecutors. They have Sigmar armor as well as Pair Celestial Hammers. And leading that unit, I also have 2 characters. The first one is Icarus the Lamplighter. He is a Knight Azeros. He's got Sigmar armor as well as a Starblade. He's also got the Shriving Light for his lantern as well. And also in that unit is Orion the Sky Hunter. He is my Knight Venator. He's got Sigmar armor as well as a Realm Hunter's Bow as well as a Star Eagle. And that pretty much makes up my deployment for this one. Alright, so now we're going across to the other side of the battlefield for Mama Khan with the Legion of the Hellmouth, her 3,000 point Ogre Kingdoms army. On the far left hand flank, that is the Anvil of Hell, which is an Iron Blaster, and right next to it is another Iron Blaster called the Hammer of the Gods. And right next to them on the right hand side, that is a huge unit of 8 Lead Belchers called the Powder Gangers, and they basically armed with light armor. They also have Lead Belcher guns as well, and they also have a Bellower in that unit. So moving on from there, on the left-hand side, we go directly in the center for deployment. In the left-hand flank of our center lines, we have a unit called the Red Rovers. It is a unit of 6 Ogre Bulls. They got Bellower as well as Standard Bearer. They're packing light armor as well as hand weapons and Iron Fists. Right next to them on the right-hand side, that is Stank Gums Legion. It is a unit of 10 Iron Guts with full command. They have great weapons as well as heavy armor, and they also have the Dragonhide Banner as well. And located in that unit, we have a couple of characters. On the right-hand side in the front rank, we have Tai-Jinn Khan, the Right Fist of Hell. He is a Slaughter Master who's also the Army's General. He's a level 4 wizard from the Lord of the Great Maw. He's got Spinemarrow, Bullgorger, Toothcracker as well as Trollguts. He's also packing Flinch's Blades, giving a weapon skill 10. Glittering Skills make it to where it's -1 hit against him in close combat. And he's got the Greedy Fist as well, which gives him +1 strength to his attacks as well as a 6 of ward save. Now right next to him, of course, in the center, that is Khorghul, the Giant Breaker. He is a Bruiser. He's also the Army's Battle Standard Bearer. He's got heavy armor. He's also packing the Gold Sigil Sword, giving him initiative 10. He's also got a Enchanted Shield, giving him +1 his armor save. And he's got the Giant Breaker big name, which means he gets +1 to his strength, but he can never refuse a challenge. And then finally on the right hand side, that unit is called the Storm Seekers. It is a unit of 5 Ogre Bulls with Bellower, Standard Bearer, hand weapons, light armor, as well as Iron Fists. And leading that unit is Shan-Yu, the Fire Fist. He is a Firebelly, level 2 wizard with the Lore of Fire. He's got Fireball as well as Flaming Sword of Ruin. He's got a great weapon as well as packing the Hellheart. And that makes up Mama Khan's center deployment. Alright, so making up her right-hand flank. On the left-hand side, we have 2 Sabertusks. The left one is called Romana, the Blood Tracker, and the one on the right is called Dulcana, the Destroyer. Right next to them on the right-hand side, that is called the Beastclaw Raiders, is a unit of 4 Mournfang Cavalry with full command. They also got heavy armor, as well as Iron Fists. And then they also have the Standard Discipline, giving them +1 to their leadership value. And then on the far right-hand side, that is Mashaf, the Sire of the Steppe. It is a Stonehorn, and it's also got an Ogre Beast Rider carrying a Harpoon Launcher. And that makes up Mama Khan's deployment for this one. So with deployment over with, we go directly to the top at turn number 1, and both Mama Khan and I roll off for initiative to see which of us will be going first. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1, and Mama Khan got the initiative on this one, so Ogre Kingdoms will be going first, and this photo is taken after the move phase. As you can see in this photo, Mama Khan did not waste any time whatsoever, as she just pretty much marches up everything she possibly can as quickly as she can. She doesn't declare any charges just because the distance was too great. So the first thing that you can see in this photo, she marches up everything. These Red Rovers, as well as Stormcast Kingdoms Legion, as well as the Stormseekers, those guys move up for their full 12 inches directly towards that ruins there in the center of the building. Ruin building, the center of the table, rather. At the same time, Romana and Dulcana, the two saber tusts, they also march up forward directly to the base of that force, right across from my Skyforge snipers. Meanwhile, she also marches up her Mornfang cavalry from the Beastclaw Raiders. They move up to the right-hand flank, and same thing with Shoff, the Star of the Steppes. The Stonehorn moves up his full double movement allowance with marching all the way to the right-hand side as well. And luckily for my friend Mama Khan, she actually passed her leadership test for the frenzy test for that guy. Meanwhile, on the left-hand flank, though, she doesn't march up her forces, and the reason why is because the Iron Blasters can't march. They're both chariots, so they go up their maximum movement of 6 inches, and at the same time, she also moves up the Powder Gangers as well, their normal movement allowance, because she plans on opening fire with those guys with those lead belcher guns, which is absolutely terrifying. And that pretty much makes up the movement phase for Mama Khan. So here's a close-up of the left-hand flank. As you can see, the question of how many cannons can an ogre army bring? The answer is too many cannons. We got 8 cannons being carried by normal ogres, and we have 2 massive cannons being carried by chariots, and that's just absolutely terrifying. The amount of firepower those guys have alone just destroys units, and those things haunt my dreams. Meanwhile, here's a close-up of her center line with the Stormseekers, the Stormcast Kingdoms Legion, as well as the Stormseekers, and those guys are moving up as quick as they can directly in the center, and that's a whole lot of flesh, muscle, and metal coming my way, and that's absolutely terrifying. And here's a close-up of Dulcana, the Blood Tracker, and Romana, the Destroyer, moving up behind those forests, getting ready, looks like to charge against my Skyforge snipers. At the same time, you see the Beastclaw Raiders as well. Those are 4 Mornfang Cav, and those things are terrifying. And lastly, here's a close-up of Shoff, the Star of the Steppe, who managed to pass his leadership test, so no frenzy charge. And he's moving up his 12-inch movement allowance in order to close the distance with my forces. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. Unfortunately for Mama Khan, the magic phase was less than stellar, so we go directly to the shooting phase, and as you can see in this photo, all kinds of chaos erupts. The first thing she does, she actually concentrates fire with her lead belchers. The entire unit of lead belchers open up directly with 8 lead belcher guns, firing 8d6 strength 4 hits directly against my Heralds of Heaven. As you can see in this photo, 2 of them just died right off the bat, so that part was absolutely terrible. Unfortunately for me, though, I do have to roll Snake Eyes in order for my man to stand, and unfortunately for me, though, I failed that break test. As you see in this photo, he also flies off the table's edge as well, and he is no longer with us on this battle report. Now, my opponent, Mama Khan, did try to open fire with her 2 Iron Blasters. I actually got really lucky on these ones. Both of those shots actually fired off. She fired them 10 inches from the back, and actually they landed about, I think, 2 inches away from my main lines for my Zenithal Titans, and I think 4 inches away from them as well. But when she rolled for the bounce for both of those, she rolled misfire, so because of that, they don't go any further, and I got really lucky on that one, because those cannons could have been devastating. So with the shooting phase over with, we skip the combat phase because no one's engaged in close combat, and we go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Stormcast Eternals. Alright, so that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for Stormcast Eternals, and this photo is taken after the move phase, and as you can see, most of my forces actually do not move. The only thing I end up doing is I move up my Aether Wings, I march fly them across the battlefield to land a few inches in front of Stormcast Kingdoms Legion. The reason why I'm doing that is so that way they could redirect charges, also block marches, so it's just a really good idea to stop those infantry forces from getting up to me. Meanwhile, at the same time, I also march fly my prosecutors as well. They go flying up 20 inches across the battlefield and landing right in the middle behind the lines of both the Beastclaw Raiders on the left-hand flank, as well as Shoff the Star of the Steppes on the right-hand flank. My plan here is to pretty much capture my opponent in a crossfire at this point. Hopefully I can use Celestial Hammers with some forces, and at the same time also engage in a pincer attack in close combat. And that pretty much makes up my move phase for that one. Alright, so here's a close-up of the move phase. As you can see, my main battle line pretty much stands their ground. There's no reason for them to move up forward because I want to be able to shoot my opponent. I'll be able to shoot twice with my Scions of Mercy, which are my unit of 10 Judicators, so that's why they don't move at all, and I really want to do that. Same thing with my Skyforge Snipers. They have the long strike crossbows either make them move or shoot, and plus they could shoot better when they don't move, and so why would I do that? And here's a close-up of my Venerable Falcons, my unit of Aether Wings, getting to a blocking position right in front of Stormcast Kingdoms Legion. And finally, here's a close-up of my prosecutors from the Stairs of the Aether with Icarus the Lamplighter, as well as Orion the Skyhunter. And as you can see, they're right behind the main enemy lines with Mashaf, the Star of the Steppes, as well as the Beastclaw Raiders. Now, with the move phase over with, we unfortunately skipped the magic phase just because I don't have very much offensive magic for my army, so there is no spells to cast. And so because we skipped that, we go directly to the shooting phase. So during the shooting phase, I did manage to kill Romana the Blood Tracker, so because I managed to kill that character, and because of that, Dolkana the Destroyer does have to take a panic test. Unfortunately for Mama Khan though, Sabertusk only have leadership 4, so because of that, she fails her break test and runs back and only gets stopped because that rock pillar's in the way. I managed to kill off Romana the Blood Tracker using my Skyforge snipers in order to snipe them off. Meanwhile, for the rest of the shooting phase, it actually worked out pretty good for me. The first thing I decided to do is I concentrated fire right in the middle point between the Iron Blasters as well as my opponent's Red Rovers there on the left-hand side. What I do is I call down the Meteor, is what I decided to use by using the Meteoric Standard. I put it right there, right in the middle between the 2 units on the left-hand side. Did manage to kill off a couple of guys, which is absolutely fantastic. Managed to kill off 2 Iron Blasters, not Iron Blasters, 2 Lead Belchers, which is really cool. Unfortunately for me though, they managed to pass their break test, so they're perfectly fine. Also managed to kill one member of the Red Rovers and put a floating one on another, which is really cool too. And unfortunately, they also passed their panic test as well. However, the real icing on the cake, though, is with the Stormcast Legion. So the first thing I do is I open fire with my Scions of Mercy. They get to fire twice with their normal Skybolt bows. And because of that, I was able to kill one of those guys, which is absolutely fantastic. So that part was great. But the real killer, however, were my Shockbolt bows from my Scions of Mercy because they had the Sniper Special rule. And I basically had my guys fire twice. I had 2 of them, so they got to fire 4 times in total. And I aimed them all my shots directly into Tai-Jinn Khan, the Right Fist of Hell. And after all those shots were said and done, I managed to kill that guy, which is absolutely fantastic. So just like that, my opponent has lost her general as well as her level 4 wizard as well, all of them one fell swoop, so that part was epic. At the same time, I also did some shooting with my Celestial Vindicators, my prosecutors for my Stars of the Aether, and the reason why they were able to put 2 wounds on those guys with their Celestial Hammers. Now, if you're wondering why they were able to march and be able to shoot at the same time, is because they are skirmishers, and that's one of the benefits of doing that. So with the shooting phase over with, we skip the combat phase because no one's engaged in close combat, and we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Ogre Kingdoms. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Ogre Kingdoms, and this photo is taken after the move phase, and as you can see in this photo, Mama Khan decided to bring the pain. So the first thing she does, she actually declares a charge with Stormcast Legion. Now, this is where I make a mistake. I originally didn't stand with my Aether Wings. I actually fled my Aether Wings. My plan was that my Aether Wings would flee and then, get away from Stormcast Legion, and at the same time be able to turn around and then fly forward and then once again act as a roadblock for infantry forces. And that was originally what the plan was. Unfortunately though, my dice did not listen to my plan. They actually rolled like a 3, I think, for them to flee, and meanwhile Mama Khan rolled an 11 to charge forward. So needless to say, Stormcast Legion just tore right over the Aether Wings, killed them all for my Venerable Falcons, and then smashed directly into the front rank of my Solemn Martyrs. And to make matters worse, because she rolled an 11 to do it, she also gets D3 impact hits, with rank bonuses adding to the strength of those impact hits as well. Terrifying stuff, to say the least. Now the next thing she decides to do is she decides to declare a charge with her Stormseekers going directly into the leftover spot on my Solemn Martyrs. Unfortunately for her though, she failed her charge. I think she only went forward, 6 inches is what she ended up doing. So because of that, she failed that charge. So in order to protect the left-hand flank of her Stormcast Legion, she decided to march up forward with the Red Rovers. So those guys just move up forward to protect the left-hand flank of Stormcast Legion, so they can't be flanked by my Adjudicators or by my Paladin Retributors. Meanwhile, on the right-hand flank, she decides to declare a charge with her Beastclaw Raiders. Those guys go charging through the forest directly into my Skyforce Snipers. I, of course, stand and shoot as a result. I think I managed to put a wound on one of them, I think, or maybe it might have been a failed dangerous terrain test. Either way, she does take a wound for either one, but she just managed to close a distance and engage my Skyforce Snipers. And between you and me, I know my Skyforce Snipers are dead. There's no way they're going to be able to stand an attack from 4 Mornfang Cav. Now, at the same time, she does not actually charge with her Mashaf, the Star of the Steppe. Her Stonehorn does pass her Frenzy test, so because of that, she does march up forward to the right-hand side, so that way she's got a good line straight to the right-hand flank of my army, and if that thing connects, that's going to be all kinds of bad. Meanwhile, on the left-hand flank, she does move up the Iron Blasters of the Anvil of Hell and the as well as the Hammer of the Gods. They just move their normal moon allowance, and same thing with the Powder Gangers, so that way they can keep on shooting this turn. And finally, her Sabertusk Dolkana the Destroyer fails its rally test, and it keeps on fleeing to the back of the table. So here is a close-up of the movement phase on the left-hand flank. As you can see, the Anvil of Hell, as well as the Hammer of the Gods and the Battergangers just move up their normal movement allowance, so that way they can open fire with their guns directly into my left-hand flank, and that is absolutely terrifying. Meanwhile, here's a close-up of the successful charge of Stormcast Eternals Legion, closing the distance with my Solemn Martyrs. At the same time, the Red Rovers kind of bring up the left-hand flank and protecting the Stormcast Eternals Legion from being charged on the left-hand side. And here's a close-up of the Stormseekers who failed their charge, and a close-up of the Beastclaw Raiders who passed their charge and made it directly into my Skyforge Snipers. And here's a close-up of our Stormhorn, Mashaf, the Star of the Steppe, getting ready to charge my right-hand flank. And finally, here's a close-up of Dokkan the Destroyer, who is still running for the hills because it's only leadership for Sabertusk. So with the movement phase over with, we pretty much skip the magic phase because magic was a wash, and we go directly to the combat phase. Oh, sorry, not combat phase, the shooting phase. And the shooting phase, good gravy, the shooting phase. I got so lucky during the shooting phase. It is no joke how lucky I really got on this one. So first of all, let's go and talk about the shooting phase. What ended up happening is that my friend Mama Khan decides to open fire with her powder gangers. Now because half of her unit is actually, their line of sight is blocked by the ruins, they can't shoot, so there's only 4 of them opening fire. That's one way I really got lucky as well. And luckily for me, Mama Khan also just kind of flubbed her rolls for a hit roll, so because I only a couple of shots managed to get through, I was able to survive those, which is really, really nice. Now, when it comes to the second barrage, though, with the Iron Blasters, this is where things get interesting. The first Iron Blaster actually managed to hit and actually landed directly onto my Zenithal Titans. The thing, though, is I don't get armor saves, but I do have a 5 award save for all of my Stormcast Eternals. So I rolled a 5 and managed to stop that cannonball from bouncing. Got really, really lucky on that one. Now, the second shot, of course, did bounce and once again hit my Zenithal Titans. I wasn't able to ward save it, but when my friend Mama Khan rolled for her wound, she only rolled 1 wound on my Zenithal Titans. So because of that, the cannonball stops and puts a floating wound on one of my Zenithal Titans. So I got extremely lucky in the shooting phase on this one. So with the shooting phase over with, we go directly to the combat phase. So let's go ahead and talk about the combat phase. Here's a close-up of the action that took place right in the center of the battlefield. So what ended up happening is that my opponent, of course, I decided to declare a challenge, what I decided to do. Mama Khan has a battle center bear named Khorghul Khan, and he cannot actually refuse a challenge. So because of that, my General Lord Ios of Azure Earth declares a challenge against her battle center bear. And the great part about that was I was able to kill that guy pretty effectively, which is all kinds of awesome. I don't think he managed to land any wounds on me, though, so I got pretty lucky on that one. So just like that, she loses Khorghul the Giant Breaker and also loses her Battle Center Bear as well, which is fantastic. Now, she does pop the Dragonhide banner, and she also does her impact hits from her charging. Luckily for me, though, it wasn't as effective as she thought it was going to be. I have a really good armor save as well as ward save, so I do lose, I think, 1 of my Liberators from that, so that part got really lucky as well. And then, of course, she popped the Dragonhide banner. Unfortunate for her, though, it didn't really do her any good, just because of the Strength 3 attack against Toughness 4, so it didn't really do much for my forces with that Breath attack. But what really ended up helping, though, was that it gave me always strike last. So it didn't allow my champions or my heroes to actually fight first. So that part was kind of good for her. Meanwhile, when she did her first of her attacks, of course, she managed to kill 2 more of my Liberators, so that part was kind of sad. But when it was all said and done, after all my characters attacked, and same thing with my Liberators, I did manage to kill 3 more members of Stormcast Eternals Legion. So because of that, I think I won this combat by a landslide. So because of that, she does have to take a break test. She fails her break test, and she flees. I think she flees 7 inches back, and when I roll for my pursue, I think I rolled a 7, so just like that, Stormcast Eternals Legion gets run down and killed, and at the same time I charge directly into the front rank of the Stormseekers. So I'm thinking things are looking pretty good. However, what was not so great, though, as you can see on the right-hand side, my Skyforce Snipers got slaughtered by the Beastclaw Raiders. The impact hits alone was enough to finish those guys off, so those guys got killed bad. And so because of that, she does a quick combat reform and faces on the right-hand flank, passing her leadership test, and now my right-hand flank is open to being charged by those Beastclaw Raiders, and so that part was horrific. So with the combat phase over with, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Stormcast Eternals. Alright, so that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Stormcast Eternals, and once again, this photo is taken after the movement phase, and as you can see, I'm pretty much scrambling at this point. The first thing I do is I declare a charge with, I declare a charge with my Seraphs of the Aether. They go directly to the right-hand flank of the Mashaf, the Star of the Steppes, so I managed to get that guy in close combat. Orion, the Sky Hunter, though, he decides not to charge forward. He just kind of stands his ground so that we can do some shooting in the shooting phase. Meanwhile, I declare a charge by Zenithal Titans. They're only like, I think, 3 inches away, so it wasn't that difficult. So they go smashing directly into the Red Rovers. And then I do a swift reform real quick with my Scions of Mercy and have them face up against the right-hand side. Now, granted, it's not a really good choice to do that because I don't get to shoot because I did that, but I plan on charging them into the Beastclaw Raiders in case they charge into the back of my Sullen Martyrs, so that way I can get them in a pincer attack for the most part. And that pretty much makes up my move phase for this one. So here's a close-up of my Scions of Mercy getting ready to face off against the Beastclaw Raiders. At the same time, here's a close-up of my Zenithal Titans getting ready to throw down with the Red Rovers, and I'm pretty interested to see exactly how that combat will go. And here's a close-up of my Sullen Martyrs charging directly into the Stormseekers, and at the same time, I got a horrible, horrible charge coming my way from my back ranks with the Beastclaw Raiders, so that part was horrific. And here's a close-up of Mashaf being charged by my Stars of the Aether, and I'm really looking forward to see exactly how this combat goes because that guy is pretty beast, but I also got some pretty powerful attacks, and I'm really excited to see exactly how this combat will turn out. And finally, here's a close-up of Orion the Sky Hunter staying his ground so that way he can open fire with his Star-Fated Arrow. I'm hoping to take out an Iron Blaster as I plan on doing during the shooting phase. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. And in the magic phase, I'm about to cast my spell when Mama Khan pops the Hellheart. So yeah, and because I have to roll a 2d6 on the miscast chart automatically for my one wizard, and I rolled a 2.
Klaatu! Veranda!
Now, luckily for me, when the large blast template went off, it was actually pretty good. We were actually surprised on this one. I rolled for the wounds on that one. I actually rolled a bunch of 1s, so because of that, we got pretty lucky on that for both myself as well as Mama Khan. Her forces were perfectly fine. However, what was not so great, though, was when I rolled the d6 to see exactly what happens to Jethun the Sullen. He gets sucked into the warp, and so because of that, he gets captured by Sneech and goes for retraining because now he is currently dead. So for the magic phase, we skip the shooting phase because the only guy who can shoot is Orion the Sky Hunter, and I opened fire with a Star-Fated arrow to hit one of the Iron Blasters, and I rolled a 1 to hit, so that part was really tragic. So with the shooting phase over, we go directly to the combat phase, and as you can see in the combat phase, it did not go well at all. As you can see in this photo, I do manage to put 1 wound. I put 1 wound on Mashaf the Sorrow of the Steppes. Mashaf the Sorrow of the Steppes, however, he managed to kill 4 of my prosecutors. It was absolutely horrific. And the reason why you're wondering, okay, Commander Cheapskate, why didn't it do so well? Why did you fail so badly? The reason why is because Mashaf actually causes terror. And not only does he only cause terror as well, he also causes fear tests. So because I had to roll for my fear test, and unfortunately though, I failed that fear test. So because my guys dropped to weapon skill 1, I was powerless to do anything. I could not hit this guy if my life depended on it. So because of that, I did minimal injuries to him. He, however, did maximum injuries to me. I have to break, and I fail my break test. I flee, and he pursues. And as you can see in this photo, Mashaf, the Sorrow of the Steppes, overruns the forest and kills the last of my Seraphs of the Aether, as well as Icarus the Lamplighter, and he just stops, I think, an inch short of actually hitting Orion the Sky Hunter. So that part was horrific. So with that over with, we go right to the combat features in the center of the table, and let's go ahead and talk about it. I actually made a mistake before. I did cause 1 wound on one of the Stormseekers from the miscast that went off earlier, so I do apologize for that. However, combat was not so great for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons why, if you notice, we're kind of like in this weird position, so we don't have a lot of fighters that can maximize and actually throw their attacks on either side, so that's one reason that also kind of failed. And the reason why this also failed too is because I failed my fear test. I can't believe I'm saying this, but my Stormcast Eternals failed their fear tests. I rolled an 11 and I rolled a 12 for my leadership tests on this one. So normally people will be like, yeah, 11, 12, those are good rolls. Not so great when you have a leadership test, and it was absolutely horrible. So because of that, I failed my fear test, my guys dropped on the level weapon skill 1. It was really, really bad. Now, when combat occurs, of course, my opponent Mama Khan declares a challenge with Shan-Yu the Fire Fist, and of course, my general Lord Ios of Azure Earth decides to accept the call. The problem, though, he's weapon skill 1, so his weapon skill 8 goes out the window, so that really hurt. Now the thing about this though, when it came down to it with the combat, I was able to put 3 wounds on Shan-Yu, the Fire Fist, which is great. So that Firebelly is 1 wound from getting it, getting hurt. However, what was not so great though is that Shan-Yu put 3 wounds on my general. Was able to do it with her great weapon. At the same time, she also popped her fire breath too, so that really horrible. So because that, we're currently tied on wounds on this point. Now the rest of the combat. I do nothing against the Stormseekers because I can't hit them because I failed my fear test. However, the Stormseekers though were able to put 3 wounds onto me. Managed to kill one of my Liberators, at the same time I put a floating wound on the other one. So because that, originally we were tied because we caused 3 wounds to each other with our characters, but then that also gets skewed off. She wins combat by 4 because of the wounds she causes. She also has a rank as well as a standard. That brings her combat score up to 6 on this one. Now I have a battle standard bearer, which is great, so it drops it by 1, but I don't get rank bonuses. And the reason why I don't get rank bonuses is because all my guys are skirmishers, and so therefore she beats me by 5. I have to take a leadership test. I think is on a 5 on that one, and I fail both of my rolls. I fail the original roll, as was the reroll, and I have to flee. I think I flee like 5 inches, and I think Mama Khan charges for 9. So because of that, the Stormseekers run across the entirety of my Solemn Martyrs and kills everybody. Kills my Solemn Martyrs, kills my General, kills Jericho the Doomcaller, kills Horus the Stormbreaker. It was bad, and that's like one of my most heavy points concentrated armies ever, and it was absolutely horrible. So those guys are now all dead. Meanwhile, on the left-hand flank, the combat between the Zenithal Titans as well as the Red Rovers was a bloodbath. I did manage to kill 2 of those Ogres, so that was great, but they managed to kill 3 of my Zenithal Titans. My Zenithal Titans have 3 wounds apiece, so because of that, we're pretty much tied when it comes to the wounds that was caused. But my opponent also managed to put a stomp attack on one of my guys that puts additional wounds, so she wins by 1. And at the same time, I also charge forward, so that negates that, but she has a standard bearer. And I don't, and so because of that, I lose this combat by 1. My leadership drops down to leadership 7. I fail my break test. I can't reroll it because my battle standard bearer is dead. I flee, and of course Mama Khan pursues. Mama Khan overruns my Zenithal Titans and crashes directly into the left-hand flank of my Scions of Mercy, and this is where I realize I'm probably not going to win this one, because the only thing I left on the battlefield right now, I think, is Orion the Skyhunter, this unit of 10 Judicators. My opponent still has her Powder Gangers, her Beast Claw Raiders, 2 units of Ogres, 2 Iron Blasters. There's no way in heck I'm going to win this one. And so because of that, I basically call the game, just because there's no way in Hades I'm going to be able to pull the victory off on this one, and Mama Khan nets herself another victory over yours truly, which is really painful, because like I said before, Mama Khan is my kryptonite. For whatever reason, I cannot beat this woman in a game of Warhammer. She's just too good, or I'm too unlucky, or she's too lucky, or vice versa, whatever the case may be. It was really, really bad. And it was kind of funny because my 2 friends, Dark Lord Mac and Mama Khan, they're actually married in real life. They're actually husband and wife. And it was funny because Dark Lord Mac was laughing at me the entire time I was getting my butt handed to me by his wife, and it was really, really demoralizing because my buddy Dark Lord Mac, man, he can talk trash with the best of them. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the after action report because this battle report is now over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
I thought about staying. They offered me the chance to lead them, to teach them, to be king.
Uh-huh.
But my place is here, so I swallowed the juice, said the words, and here I am.
Did you say the words right this time?
Well, maybe I didn't say every single tiny little syllable, no, but basically I said them, yeah. Basically.
Alright, now it's time for the After Action Report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the After Action Report for the Golden Age Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report number 124, and this one ended up being a defeat for Commander Chiefscape. Mama Khan scored 2,626 points against me, while I managed to score only 1,380 points against her. I lost pretty much everything. Lord Isles of Azure Earth and Thundercaller, Jathun the Sullen, Horus the Stormbringer, Jericho the Doomcaller, Icarus the Lamplighter, the Sullen Martyrs, the Zenithal Titans, the Ceres of the Aether, the Skyforged Snipers, the Venerable Falcons, and the Heralds of Heaven. Mama Khan lost her general, Tai-Jinn Khan, the Right Fist of Hell, Khorghul the Giant Breaker, Stormcast Legion, and Romana the Blood Tracker. just to be honest, I got slaughtered in this battle report, and the main reason why is because this time when I fought against Mama Khan, it was due to dice rolls. Just for some reason, I just could not make my leadership rolls in this battle report. My dice pretty much abandoned me, and it caused me to lose a lot of fear tests, which really hurt. Same thing with break tests as well as panic tests. Not to mention, I also lost to combat for a lot of simple things like, and my opponent had a bandsander barrel, or she had a rank, or she charged or something. Well, I couldn't do anything because of that, because of my skirmisher special rule on my units. And now I'm going to talk about that a little bit on this one, because I'm kind of going to go off on like a deep dive on this, because I realize I've actually been playing this army wrong. So right now, if you want to know, the current record of this army is 4 victories as well as 6 defeats. Now, after the game, what ended up happening is that Dark Lord Mac decided to do me a solid real quick, and he decided to read the rules for the Stormcast Eternals I was using, and he was looking at it after we got done playing. Because whenever I invite my friends to play, what ends up happening is, we do it on the weekends, so I usually cook when I invite my friends over to play, and then we get together and we eat some dinner and stuff. Well, he was reading over the rules, and he realized I made some mistakes. The first mistake I made was a special rule called the Light Against the Darkness. Now, I assumed when I read that rule, I accidentally got this rule mixed up with another rule called Purifying Lightning, which means that you actually cause additional damage to demons and things of that nature. And the Light Against the Darkness rule, what it means that all units with this special rule are automatically steadfast, which means that in any situation when they're in close combat, they always have stubborn. At the same time, they can also reroll leadership tests if there's a character in the unit as well. And that's how the rule works, which means that every single battle I've done at this point, I did not do that. I did not count my units as being stubborn. So because of that, every single time my opponent had rank bonuses on me and all these other mitigating circumstances that they would beat me for things like that, I should have been testing on my unmodified leadership this entire time. Which made me go back to thinking all the times that I actually failed break tests by using combat resolution as a difference. And that wasn't supposed to happen, because that rule actually stops that. Because I made some mistakes there. And the second one I actually got wrong too was another special rule called Form the Shield Wall. I totally spaced this rule. I didn't even realize this rule existed. And he says what ends up happening is that any one of your infantry units, you can decide to form a shield wall instead, which means they lose their skirmisher rules and they become normal infantry instead, which means they get rank bonuses and things like that. And he says at the same time, but though they can't march though as a result of that, but if they want to go back to being skirmishers again, they lose a turn of movement. And when I was looking about that, I was thinking about that. It was making me question a lot of the choices that I did with my army and how I've been playing. Like, for example, when I do charge on flanks, what I should have been doing was basically forming shield wall before I did that charge, so that way I could count as disrupting my opponents. So that's something I did not take into account whatsoever. Or counting rank bonuses, that kind of thing, which means that I've been making a lot of mistakes with this army, realizing that a lot of situations that I failed or shouldn't have been failing, I should have passed those. So it's actually making me question pretty much the entirety of my history with this army right now, which is making me reflect on a lot of things and realize I made a lot of mistakes. And basically the moral of this story I'm trying to tell you, Wargamers, is that make sure that you read and reread and double check and research and just basically learn your army book. Because when you look at different rules, you realize a lot of things you might have made mistakes on, and you can go back and fix those mistakes. For example, when I was playing the Bretonnian army using the 8th edition rules from Warhammer Armies Project, we've realized that we should be getting a devastating charge off with each of the knight units that I was charging for, which means they get additional attack when they charge. If they're in lance formation, I realized, oh my god, that really changed the game because I totally missed that rule. Well, this is my situation. I lost 2 rules, and that really hurt me because of that. So because of that, I have to go back to the drawing board with this army, because now I realize with these additional changes, I can rework my army a certain way, and it can actually make it a little bit more survivable. Now, even though I got most of my rules wrong for my army, and at the same time I got slaughtered, this was still an amazingly fun game to play against Mama Khan. Mama Khan is my kryptonite, and I always lose against her, but she's an extremely fun one to play against, and I really like the challenge. And as always, I am looking forward to rematch. So that's good for this one, you guys. A little bit longer on the After Action Report. I do apologize, but please feel free to comment, like, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us, and I appreciate it as always. And also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest great hobby news that relates to this channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out. Stay classy and learn your army rulebooks. You guys have a good one.